So guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I have something special for you because today we are looking at the On Cloud Pulse, and the Cloud Pulse is the first shoe that On has made specifically for the gym. So let's get into it. Okay, let's get started off with those disclosures. This video is in collaboration with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports. Now, Roadrunner Sports was good enough to send me this pair of the On Cloud Pulse for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you're going to be able to pick up a pair of the On Cloud Pulse from Roadrunner Sports for $150. So let's get started off with those specs. Now, the On Cloud Pulse does have an 8mm drop, but I don't know what the stack height is. But after looking at them and wearing them for a couple of weeks, I'm going to estimate we have about 30 in the heel, 22 in the forefoot. Now remember, it is a gym shoe. We don't want all that excess stack that's going to make us a little unstable. Now, On claims that in a US men's size 9, the Cloud Pulse would tip the scale at 11.4 ounces or 323 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 13.8 ounces or 392 grams. Now, although the Cloud Pulse compared with a lot of other shoes that I wear are a little heavier, we have to remember that this is a gym shoe, not specifically a running shoe. But even so, I do have a lot of running shoes that are heavier than the Cloud Pulse. But let's get into some materials, and we're going to start at the top. We're going to work our way down. I'm going to hold this up so you guys can see we have a lot of padding coming around the heel collar. That gives us a nice step-in feel, a nice and secure step-in feel. The heel counter is very rigid. I mean, your heel goes in and you are getting locked in place. Now, you're going to notice this heel clip right on the back, but we're going to come back to that. The upper on the Cloud Pulse is a reinforced engineered mesh, and just feeling it, it is very durable. Now, it didn't seem to me that this was the most breathable shoe, but that's probably because this is a reinforced engineered mesh and not just your run-of-the-mill engineered mesh. We want a little reinforcement when we're in the gym. Now, let's talk about overlays, because we do have the On branding on the lateral and medial side. We've got an overlay coming around the heel. We have an overlay coming around the toe, acting as a toe bumper. And of course, we have the overlays coming right around the eyelet chain just to give that extra support. So when you cinch down your laces, you're not doing any damage to the upper. Now, the Cloud Pulse also is including these reinforcement strips on the side. And on the front strip, we can see that the laces tie right into it. And then of course, there is another one on the back. And basically what's that doing? It's creating a solid midfoot lockdown. We can see the laces are tied in right here. So when you cinch down those laces, you are effectively pulling the upper to wrap around your foot. And that's going to give increased stability and increased security when you're in the gym lifting weights, perhaps doing lateral movements as you're jumping around. Now, I'm holding this up so you guys can see. Maybe it's better if I overlay something, but On says that they have included a unique lacing angle, and ultimately they've done this to make the shoe more supportive and to give you a good heel lockdown. Now, I've got to tell you, when I first looked at it, I couldn't really see anything different. But when I hold it up to another shoe, I happen to have the On Cloud Surfer Next right on hand. You can see that the lacing on the Cloud Pulse actually tapers slightly to the medial side. And again, that is just to give a little more support. So when you're lacing down your shoes, you're able to move any which way without feeling unstable. Now, On also says that this lacing angle also contributes to a better heel lock, but if you look right here on the top, we also have these additional lace holes in case you want to do the heel lock lacing method. Now, the tongue on the Cloud Pulse is probably one of my favorite tongues in any of my shoes. It is very thin, and yet it still has a good amount of padding. It really is the perfect amount. We're not overdoing it with a thick tongue, but that's also going to help keep the shoe breathable. Now, the tongue is gusseted on both sides, but the gussets on the tongue tie into the second layer of the upper. So they tie into the upper at about that level. A lot of times a shoe will have a gusseted tongue where the gusset attaches to the base. Not so with the Cloud Pulse. The tongue is attached fairly high up, and then we have two lace loops right on the front. Needless to say, the tongue is not going to migrate. You're not going to have any movement once you're locked in. The laces on the Cloud Pulse are a thin linguine shape, and I tell you, they feel quite slick when they're in my hands, like I'm sliding my fingers on, and I wonder how well they're going to grip. Well, I'm happy to report that they grip just fine. The shoes never came untied, and they did their job. Like we want laces to do one thing, these laces did that. Okay, so let's come down to the midsole, because On is using their Helion Superfoam, and that is a foam that offers excellent energy return, and you can see they've included their Cloud Tech cushioning. We have 2 pods here on the forefoot, and then another 2 here on the heel. And if I hold that up so you can see, look, I can squeeze those Cloud pods shut. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Because while the Helion Superfoam is not super plush, obviously that's not what we want when we're in the gym and we're lifting weights and we're jumping around and doing lateral movements. We want something a little firmer to hold us in place, maybe increase our feel of the ground. I did question the use of this Cloud Tech technology because I wondered if it was going to give just a little too much give. Now, spoiler alert, it wasn't too much give for me. These shoes worked very well, but I'm not sure they're going to work for everyone. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. Now, inside the Helion Superfoam, sitting right on top of this Cloud Tech is a speed board, and it's a full-length speed board, and that's actually what comes up and supports the heel. So it starts all the way back in the heel and comes down to the forefoot. And this is also going to contribute to stability. It's going to make the shoe a little rigid, which is exactly what we want. When we're lifting weights in the gym, when we're jumping around, we don't want a shoe that's flopping all over the place. And what's more, the speed board is a little different from their On running shoes because this speed board is designed to help with lateral movements. And if we come down to the outsole, we can see that we've got quite a bit of rubber coverage. So these shoes are going to be very durable. Now, in my testing, I think I I took them out twice on the run on the road, but it's primarily going to be used in the gym. So I also use these shoes on the treadmill, as well as going around and doing my circuit. I've done some dance cardio workouts and a couple of boot camps. Now, I didn't experience any issue with the grip on the Cloudpulse, but to be perfectly honest, when I ran outside, it was totally dry, so I haven't tested these in the rain. But again, this is a gym shoe. You're probably not going to be wearing these out in the rain. What I really love is that using them in the gym, they are not going to get as dirty as when you take them outside. So even though I have been using these Cloudpulse in the gym for a couple of weeks, they are still looking fresh and new. And of course, when you buy any pair of On shoes, you are definitely buying into the styling. On knows what they're doing in the styling department. These shoes look sharp. Okay, so how do these shoes actually perform in the gym? Well, they perform well, but I think they perform well for me and the type of exercises that I do. Now remember, this is me giving you my opinion on the shoes and the type of activity that I have used them for. Now, I am not a weightlifter. Typically, I'm a runner, but I do go into the gym about 4 times a week and I do lift weights. Now, I don't lift super heavy weights, and I'm also more of a cardio-based person. So I lift weights because I have to. And I gotta say that the Cloudpulse gave my feet a lot of support. I didn't experience any issues when I was doing lunges, squats, side lunges, and I said I've done a dance cardio workout and several boot camps. And in the dance cardio, obviously you're dancing around with lots of lateral movement, and the boot camp is pretty much the same thing. You're going through several different exercises back and forth. And for all those things, for those kind of weights, and for all those activities, for the type of weights that I am using, I think the Cloudpulse is pretty ideal. Now, where I foresee an issue with the Cloudpulse is if you are someone that likes to lift really heavy weights. And obviously I can't back this up because that's not something that I do, but I do wonder if you are lifting like very heavy weights, if this CloudTec technology is actually going to be a hindrance because it's going to give a little more than would be ideal. So is that extra weight going to compress the CloudTec cushioning and make you a little unstable? I don't know. It's just something that I thought about, but I couldn't lift enough weight to actually make that happen. Now, On claims that the Cloudpulse are going to help you master your workouts from HIIT to cardio. And I've done HIIT and I've done cardio and I've lifted weights. And the shoes were phenomenal for me. However, when I take these shoes out for the run, when I do that as part of my cardio, I don't think I'd like to run more than just a couple of miles in these Cloudpulse at any one time. And that is because they are just a little firm for my taste. I think most people would be able to take these shoes out and run in them and feel fine. Remember, it does have the speed board, which makes them very secure, very stable, but I'm not a huge fan of an overly firm midsole. And I mean that when I'm running. In the gym, that's exactly what I want. That's probably why these are gym shoes and not running shoes. But still, I had to test them by running in them, and that's my opinion. Also, as a heel striker, I just want to point out that this shoe has a very minimal heel flare, and that probably contributes to why they felt just a little clunky when I was running in them. But again, I am a runner evaluating a workout shoe from a runner's perspective. In the gym, you don't notice that. When you're standing in between the squat rack, these shoes gave me a lot of support and they felt really good on my foot. And when it comes down to it, comfort is what it's all about. Oh, and last but not least, just to repeat myself about the aesthetics of this shoe. Guys, if you wanted to use this shoe as like a daily wear shoe after you leave the gym, I think this shoe is placed at the pinnacle of that niche. This shoe just looks sharp. It's going to look sharp with any pair of pants. It just looks really good. So now I want to hear from you. First of all, have you run in any On shoes? If you have, drop a comment and let me know what you're using. And do you use a specific pair of training shoes when you're in the gym? Again, drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the On Cloudpulse. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.